The orbital restaurant Orem deck floated above the gas giant like a chandelier of light and glass, suspended between stars and storm clouds. Its windows overlooked swirling oceans of amber and violet, where lightning storms danced across the horizon in slow, silent majesty. Inside, the air hummed with music and quiet wealth, the chatter of diplomats, traders, and nobles who came from 100 worlds to dine among the clouds. For most, it was a sanctuary of refinement. For Marcus Hale, it was just another shift. He wiped a glass behind the bar, watching reflections ripple across its surface, his movements efficient but absent-minded. A decade ago, he'd been a ship engineer in the Terran fleet. Now he poured drinks for people who didn't remember the wars he'd fought to make their peace possible. He noticed her because she moved differently from the others. The alien waitress glided through the dining hall with a tray of crystal goblets, her silver uniform catching the soft gold light. Her skin was a smooth shade of deep cerulean, her hair pale as starlight, tied neatly in a braid that shimmered when she passed under the chandeliers. The patrons watched her with polite curiosity, some with quiet fascination. Her species, the Arcani, had only joined the Concord 3 years ago, still new enough to draw stares. But she didn't seem to notice. Her eyes, bright like liquid chrome, remained downcast, focused on her task, until Marcus noticed the limp. It was subtle at first, a small hitch in her stride, a hesitation in the left leg that she tried to mask by slowing her pace. Most guests wouldn't have seen it. Most wouldn't have cared. But Marcus had spent years reading movements, of machines, of people, of things breaking quietly under strain. Something about that limp set off an old instinct. She passed his counter again, placing a tray down with practiced grace. He caught a faint wince as she shifted her weight. "You all right?" he asked quietly. She froze, startled, as though no one had spoken to her before. "Yes, sir," she said quickly, her voice melodic but careful. "I am functional." "Didn't ask if you were functional," he said. "I asked if you're okay." Her expression flickered with confusion, then faded back to composure. "It's nothing, sir. A minor strain." "That strain's getting worse every step you take," Marcus said. "Take 5 minutes off your feet." She shook her head. "That is not permitted. Service protocols forbid unscheduled rest during peak cycle." "Then maybe the protocols need fixing." "They are not mine to fix." Her tone was calm, but there was a quiet exhaustion beneath it, one he recognized too well. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lyra," she said softly. "Lyra 17, unit designation A." "You sound more like a person than a unit," Marcus said. "So maybe start acting like one." She blinked, unsure how to respond. Before she could speak again, the manager, a tall woman in a shimmering uniform of gold-trimmed white, appeared from across the room. "Is there a problem here?" she asked, her voice sharp but smooth. Marcus smiled thinly. "Just making sure your staff's not collapsing on the job." The manager's expression hardened. "The Arcani attendants are engineered for endurance. She can handle herself." "Yeah," Marcus said dryly. "I've heard that before. Usually right before something breaks." The manager frowned, but said nothing more before turning away. Lyra lowered her gaze. "You should not interfere," she whispered. "It only brings punishment." "Then maybe it's time someone did interfere," he replied. He couldn't stop watching her after that. Every time she passed through the room, the limp seemed to worsen, though she hid it behind perfect posture and the calm precision of her duties. When her shift ended, she disappeared down the staff corridors, the ones the guests never saw, the ones that smelled of machine oil and recycled air. Marcus waited until the crowd thinned, then slipped out from behind the bar. He followed the faint hum of cleaning drones and distant machinery until he found the maintenance level. It was colder there, stripped of all the elegance above. He turned a corner and stopped. Lyra sat on the floor beside a storage console, her uniform torn near the thigh, exposing a faintly glowing wound. The flesh around it shimmered like fractured glass. She looked up in shock when she saw him. "You shouldn't be here," she said quickly. "Neither should you," he replied, kneeling beside her. The injury pulsed faintly, threads of light weaving through translucent skin. What happened? A kitchen spill, she said. A shard of cryoglass struck me during cleanup. It's already repairing. Doesn't look like it? He muttered, pulling a med patch from his pocket. That's for humans, she said. Lucky for you, I'm not picky. He tore open the patch and pressed it gently to the wound. She gasped softly, then exhaled, the glow beneath her skin dimming slightly. Better? He asked. It eases the pain, she said quietly. Thank you. You shouldn't have to thank me for that. She studied him for a long moment, her silver eyes reflecting the dim light. Humans are strange, she said softly. You act as if compassion is rebellion. Sometimes it is, he said. Depends on who's in charge. On Arcanes Prime, she said. We were created to serve the great houses. Our worth was measured by obedience. When the Concord offered citizenship, they merely changed the chains, made them invisible. Her tone carried no anger, only quiet resignation. And you just accept that? He asked. It is how we survive. No, he said, shaking his head. That's how you get used. Before she could answer, a metallic clang echoed down the corridor. Lyra tensed, her expression tightening. Someone's coming, she whispered. Marcus stepped back just as the manager appeared again, flanked by 2 security drones. I thought I told you to stay in your section, Mr. Hale, she said coldly. And I thought I told you your staff needed medical care, he shot back. The staff are fine, she snapped. Unlike your employment record, perhaps. You're threatening to fire me for helping someone? I'm removing a disturbance, she said. Effective immediately. Lyra rose quickly, wincing. Please, she said. He did nothing wrong. Silence. The manager hissed. Your voice is not required. Marcus stepped forward, eyes narrowing. Say that again. You're dismissed, she said, ignoring him. Security, escort him off station. The drones moved forward, mechanical arms whirring. Marcus' hand dropped to his belt where his ID chip hung, a relic of his fleet days. He tossed it on the floor between them. You want me gone? Fine. But I'm not leaving her here. The manager's lips curled. She's property of Orem Deck. She doesn't leave. Not anymore, he said. Then he moved. Years of combat training returned in a blur. He ducked under the first drone's arm, grabbing its core plate and ripping the stabilizer free. Sparks burst as it crashed to the floor. The second aimed its stunner, but he swung the wrecked drone's body into it, shorting both. The corridor filled with the smell of ozone and smoke. You'll pay for that, the manager shrieked. Maybe, he said, but not today. He grabbed Lyra's arm and ran. They moved through the narrow service tunnels, alarms blaring overhead. Lyra stumbled once, and he steadied her, guiding her through the maintenance bay. Where are we going? She asked. Docking ring, he said. I've got a friend with a shuttle. You'll lose everything, she said. You already saw what I had. Not much to lose. They reached an airlock as security drones swarmed behind them. He keyed the override, sealing the doors just in time. The shuttle bay beyond glowed with blue light, ships glimmering like pearls in the dark. He spotted Vega's old cargo hauler, ugly but fast, and sprinted toward it. The hatch opened before he reached it. Marcus, what the hell did you do? Vega shouted. Picked a fight with the wrong rich people, he said. We're leaving. You're out of your mind. Wouldn't be the first time. He helped Lyra aboard, sealing the hatch behind them. The ship lifted off just as the bay doors slammed open and security fire streaked past the viewport. Hang on, Vega said, gripping the controls. The hauler shot into space, engines roaring as the orbital platform shrank behind them. When the alarms faded and the stars stretched into the calm of vacuum, Marcus finally exhaled. You okay? He asked. Lyra nodded slowly. I don't understand, she said. You risked everything for me. Yeah, he said. Guess I did. Why? She asked. He looked out the viewport at the swirling gas giant below. Because someone had to. She fell silent, staring at him as if trying to read something hidden behind his calm. "Where will we go now?" she asked softly. "Somewhere they can't find you," he said. "You're free now, Lyra." She shook her head. "No one is ever free. Not while others are chained." He smiled faintly. "Then maybe we start working on that." Behind them, Orem deck floated in the distance. Silent, golden, perfect again, as if nothing had happened. But deep within its gleaming halls, rumors began to spread. Of a human who defied protocol. Of an Arcani maid who escaped her chains. Of a single act of defiance that cracked the illusion of civility that held the stars together. And somewhere, far beyond the polished light of the upper decks, a new story began to move through the colonies. Quiet, persistent, unstoppable. The story of one man who saw an alien limp and did something no one expected. The cargo hauler Wayfarer's end drifted between the stars, its old hull groaning with every microthrust adjustment. To most, it was a relic of the pre-Concord frontier, slow, outdated, and ugly. To Marcus, it was freedom. The hum of the engines was like a heartbeat, steady and familiar. He leaned against the cockpit frame, watching streaks of starlight drift across the viewport. Behind him, Lyra sat in the co-pilot's seat, her gaze fixed on the swirling blue clouds of the gas giant fading into the distance. She hadn't said much since they'd escaped the station. Vega piloted quietly, her eyes flicking across the instruments. "So," she said at last, "want to tell me why half the Concord's security division is pinging my ship's transponder?" Marcus exhaled. "Because I couldn't watch someone bleed while everyone pretended it was fine." Vega turned in her seat. "You picked a fight with a corporate fortress to rescue a waitress?" Marcus met her eyes. "She's not a waitress. She's someone." "That's not an answer. It's the only one that matters." Vega groaned. "You've got a hero complex the size of Jupiter." "No," Marcus said, his voice steady. "I just remember what it's like to be ignored." Lyra looked up, her expression unreadable. "Your people value compassion," she said softly. "Ours value silence." "Yeah," Marcus muttered. "One of us got the better deal." She hesitated, then said, "On Arcanis Prime, kindness is seen as deviation. Empathy weakens the hierarchy. We were designed to obey, not to feel." "Sounds like a system begging to be broken," he said. Hours passed before they spoke again. Vega guided the ship into the shadow of a drifting asteroid belt, cutting power to mask their heat signature. "We'll lay low here," she said. "See if Concord patrols are following." Marcus nodded. He glanced at Lyra. The faint glow beneath her skin had faded, leaving only the cold hue of her complexion. "You holding up?" he asked. "My leg has stabilized," she said. "Your human medicine worked better than expected. Guess pain doesn't care what species you are." "No," she said quietly. "But mercy seems to." He helped her to the galley, a cramped space filled with flickering panels and old coffee stains. She studied everything like a visitor to another world. "This ship," she said. "It's imperfect." "That's one word for it," Marcus said. "You don't like it?" "I didn't say that," she replied. "On the station, everything gleamed. Everything obeyed. But this," she brushed a hand across a dented console. "This has character. It exists without permission." He smiled. "Guess that makes 3 of us." She tilted her head. 3. You, me, and Vega," he said. "The unwanted, the unbought, the unbroken." Lyra considered that. "And what happens to people like us?" "We build something better," he said. Later, Marcus found her in the cargo hold, standing before the viewing port that faced the asteroid field. Her reflection hovered ghost-like over the drifting stones beyond. "You ever seen space like this before?" he asked. "Not without a handler present," she said. "Arcani workers were never permitted beyond assigned orbits. The stars were for our masters." "They're yours now," he said. "No one owns the sky." She smiled faintly. "You speak like a revolutionary." "Nah," he said. "Just someone who's tired of being told what's possible." Her eyes glimmered in the starlight. Do you believe one act can change the course of many? I believe one act can wake people up, he said. That's enough to start a storm. That storm arrived sooner than expected. A sharp ping cut through the air, a proximity alert. Vega's voice came over the intercom. Marcus, we've got a Concorde patrol dropping in from hyperspace. 2 cruisers, maybe 3. They're scanning for us. They track us that fast? He said. You humiliated a corporation that bankrolls half the Concorde, Vega replied. They don't take that well. He looked at Lyra. You've got access to any Dominion tech in your head? Something that can mask our signature. No, she said, but I can disrupt their scans temporarily. How? By overloading my neural relay. You'll fry your circuits. Perhaps, she said calmly, but it will give us time. Marcus hesitated. You're not doing that. You don't command me, she said softly. I choose this. You don't have to prove anything. You misunderstand, she said. For the first time, I can choose anything. Before he could stop her, she placed her hands on the console and closed her eyes. Light rippled across her skin, circuits beneath her flesh flaring like constellations. The ship's panels flickered wildly as static flooded the sensors. Vega cursed over the comm. Whatever she's doing, tell her to stop before she cooks us. Hold it steady, Marcus shouted. We just need 30 seconds. Outside, the cruisers drifted past, their scanners flickering with interference. Then, as suddenly as it began, the light faded. Lyra collapsed. He caught her before she hit the floor, her skin cold to the touch. Lyra, he called. Her breathing was shallow, eyes unfocused. Vega burst in, scanning the readouts. She overloaded half the damn NAV systems. But it worked. We're invisible to their sweep. Can we jump? Marcus asked. Not yet. We need to reroute the power matrix manually. Then go, he said. I'll keep her stable. Vega nodded and ran. Marcus carried Lyra to the medbay, laying her on the cot. Her pulse fluttered weakly beneath his fingers. He stared at her, frustration boiling beneath his calm. You're supposed to be the smartest species in the sector, he muttered. So why are you all so eager to die for someone else's rules? Her lips parted slightly. Because we were taught that freedom was selfishness, she whispered. When she woke again, the ship was quiet. Marcus sat beside her, a mug of cold coffee in hand. She stirred, blinking slowly. How long? She asked. 12 hours, he said. Vega got us into the Curus drift. Nobody's following. She sat up weakly. Did I damage your vessel? You saved it, he said. Again. She frowned. I disobeyed you. Yeah, he said with a faint smile. I'll try to survive the betrayal. Her expression softened. You risked yourself for me, and I repaid it with chaos. Welcome to humanity, he said. We make a mess out of good intentions all the time. Vega entered then, wiping grease from her hands. Well, heroes, we've got a problem. The hauler's power coils are shot. We need parts, and we're running low on supplies. Marcus rubbed his temples. Options. There's a free port on Nira's edge, Vega said. Independent hub. Shady, but they don't ask questions. Lyra tilted her head. That name is familiar. Probably because it's crawling with smugglers, Marcus said. Half of them probably bought their ships from your old bosses. Then perhaps, she said, it is time we show them that the old bosses are no longer untouchable. The Wayfarer's End touched down on Nira's edge 12 hours later. A sprawling orbital scrapyard stitched together from the bones of forgotten ships. Neon lights flickered against steel corridors, and the air smelled of oil, smoke, and desperation. Vendors shouted over the hum of reactors, selling everything from contraband parts to cloned food. Home sweet junkyard, Vega muttered. Marcus adjusted his jacket. Stay close. This place eats strangers alive. Lyra followed silently, her silver eyes scanning everything with quiet curiosity. So many species, she said, all surviving together. Yeah, Marcus said. Freedom's messy like that. They reached a mechanic's den buried beneath layers of scaffolding. The owner, a broad-shouldered man with mechanical arms, looked up as they entered. "Well, if it isn't Hale," he said. "Didn't expect to see your face again." "Didn't plan to," Marcus said. "Need coils and a plasma regulator. That'll cost. I've got credits. Not those fancy Concord ones, I hope. We deal in metal, not politics." Marcus tossed a small crate of salvaged components onto the counter. "Fair trade." The man grunted. "Maybe." His gaze shifted to Lyra. "She with you?" "She's my crew," Marcus said evenly. "Then you'd better keep her close," the man said. "There's a bounty on her kind since the Orem mess." Marcus froze. "Bounty? Corporate issue. Someone wants an example made." The words hit him like a gut punch. "How much?" he asked. "Enough to make people forget the law," the man said. "They're saying an Arcanine made escaped with sensitive data. Sounds like a cover story to me, but people don't care. They'll hunt her for the reward." Marcus turned to Lyra. She didn't look surprised, only resigned. "It was inevitable," she said softly. "You should leave me here. I'll draw them away." "Not happening," Marcus said. "You're with us." Marcus. "No," he said firmly. "You started this by existing. I'm finishing it by making sure you live." Vega sighed. "You always did have a death wish." "Call it principle," he said. They left the shop, cutting through the crowds. But the warning had come too late. A squad of armored mercenaries appeared at the far end of the corridor, their rifles gleaming under neon light. "There," one shouted. "The Arcanine." Marcus pulled Lyra behind a cargo stack as plasma bolts seared the air. Vega ducked beside them. "So much for low profile." "We've got to reach the ship," Marcus said. "You think we'll make it?" "We'll make it," he said. "We always do." The next few minutes were chaos. They weaved through the market, ducking behind stalls as mercenaries advanced. Lyra hesitated as a vendor's cart toppled, pinning a child beneath metal debris. Marcus saw her stop. "Go!" he shouted. But she turned back, lifting the wreckage effortlessly despite her injury. The child scrambled free. "Move!" Marcus yelled, grabbing her hand. They sprinted through the side tunnel as explosions rocked the corridor. Vega's voice crackled over comms. "Ships prepped. 30 seconds to launch." They burst through the final hatch just as the Wayfarer's end roared to life. The ramp sealed behind them, and the hauler shot off into orbit, chased by gunfire that quickly faded into silence. In the cockpit, Marcus slumped into the co-pilot's seat, heart hammering. "You all right?" he asked. Lyra nodded, though her breathing was heavy. "You didn't have to save that kid," he said. "It was instinct," she replied softly. "Is that what freedom feels like?" He smiled faintly. "Yeah. Scary as hell, isn't it?" As the ship vanished into hyperspace, Neera's edge shrank behind them. A city of lights and shadows fading into the endless dark. Somewhere deep inside, Marcus knew this wasn't over. They'd become something larger than fugitives now. They were symbols, and symbols were harder to kill than people. Hyperspace was a strange kind of silence. The stars blurred into ribbons, the hum of the ship blending into the steady rhythm of thought and exhaustion. Marcus sat in the cockpit, the faint glow from the controls painting his face in shades of blue. Lyra sat beside him, her reflection mirrored in the viewport like a ghost of light and shadow. She hadn't spoken since Neera's edge. He could still see the moment she'd lifted the wreckage to save that child, how she'd looked at her own hands afterward, almost afraid of what she'd done. "You're quiet," he said at last. She turned her head, eyes distant. "When you act freely for the first time, it feels unreal, as though I've broken something sacred." "Maybe you have," he said softly. "But sometimes breaking things is the only way to start fixing them." She looked at him for a long time, her silver blue eyes unreadable. "Do you ever regret your choices?" she asked. He thought about it. "Every day," he said. "But regret's not the same as shame. Regret means you still care about the outcome. And shame. Shame means someone else wrote your story for you." Her gaze lingered on him, then shifted back to the stars. You speak like someone who's seen too many endings. Yeah, he said. But this time I want to see what comes after. Down in the cargo bay, Vega was pacing beside an open maintenance panel, muttering to herself. Fuel cells are fine, jump drive stable, but we're leaking coolant again. She's gonna overheat next jump. Marcus climbed down the ladder, wiping grease from his hands. How bad? Not catastrophic yet, but I wouldn't trust her for another long haul. We'll find a place to patch her up. You mean after we stop being the galaxy's most wanted charity case? Vega said. Because I'm pretty sure half the bounty boards are flashing our faces right now. Marcus leaned against the bulkhead. We'll deal with it. You always say that, she muttered. And somehow we always do, he said. Lyra entered quietly, her presence soft but centered. I overheard, she said. You're hunted now because of me. Vega shot her a look. You think? Marcus raised a hand. Enough. Nobody's blaming anyone. Lyra hesitated. I know a place where we can hide. You sure? Marcus asked. You told us your kind didn't travel far from their systems. Not Arcanes Prime, she said. An outpost, hidden in the Perseus Rift. It was where we were trained before service assignments. Few know it exists. Vega frowned. That sounds like walking into the lion's den. Not if the lion's already dead, Marcus said. Set course, Vega sighed. But if we die, I'm haunting you both. The rift was a graveyard of light, stars devoured by cosmic clouds, shadows shaped like whispers. As the Wayfarer's end slipped through the dark, static flickered across the sensors. This place is creepy, Vega muttered, like flying through a ghost. Keep your eyes open, Marcus said. Anything out here could fry the hull if we get too close. Lyra sat still, her gaze fixed on the void ahead. I remember this silence, she said. Before the handlers came, before the uniform. It was the sound of waiting to be useful. You were useful the second you stopped obeying, Marcus said. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. When the outpost appeared, it was nothing like he'd expected. Built into the side of a dead moon, it looked abandoned. A ring of shattered towers and derelict hangars circling a central dome. Power readings are faint, Vega said. No life signs. That's good, Marcus said. Means nobody's home. They landed on the surface, dust swirling around the ship like ghosts. The air inside the outpost was stale, the corridors coated in frost and silence. Faded banners bearing the sigil of the Arcanine Dominion hung from the walls. You sure this is safe? Vega asked. As safe as memory can be, Lyra replied. They reached a chamber that looked like a training hall. Rows of empty pods lining the walls, still humming faintly after all these years. Lyra approached one, brushing dust from its surface. This is where we learned obedience, she said quietly. Where they programmed reflexes and erased questions. Marcus looked around. And no one ever thought to question it? We were engineered not to. Until you. She met his gaze. Until you. The weight of her words hung between them. You gave me something none of us were designed to understand, choice. They explored deeper, uncovering terminals filled with archived data, logs of experiments, directives from the Dominion scientists. Marcus scanned one of the old consoles, frowning. They tracked every emotional response, every hesitation. You weren't just servants, they were studying you. To make us perfect, she said. They feared that imperfection meant rebellion. Funny, he said. Turns out imperfection's the one thing that kept you alive. She touched the screen, her reflection shimmering in the frost. I want to destroy this place, she said. Every trace of what they made us be. Then let's make sure it never happens again, Marcus said. As they began planting charges through the lower levels, Vega's comm crackled. We've got incoming. Small craft 2, maybe 3. They're broadcasting Concord signals. Already, Marcus said. They must have tracked our jump signature, Vega replied. We've got 10 minutes tops. Lyra's expression hardened. We can't let them find this archive. Marcus nodded. Then we make a stand. The first dropships landed amid clouds of dust and flame. Through the cracked dome windows, Marcus saw armored silhouettes advancing. Corporate security, Vega said. Not Concord military, these guys are private. Same difference, Marcus muttered. They want her. And they'll kill us to get her, Vega added. Not if we make it expensive, he said, checking his rifle. Lyra stood beside him, her armor faintly glowing from internal circuits. I can hold the entrance, she said. You can't take them all. I'm not alone, she said. And for a moment, he didn't know whether she meant him or something else entirely. The first wave hit hard. Plasma fire seared through the air, lighting the corridor in bursts of blue and gold. Marcus moved like a machine, cover, fire, move again, years of training kicking in. Vega rigged makeshift mines from spare power cells, detonating them as the mercenaries pushed forward. Lyra stood at the choke point, her hands outstretched, channeling energy through the air. The walls vibrated with soundless force as she unleashed a pulse that hurled enemies back in waves. Remind me never to make her mad, Vega muttered. You're doing great, Marcus called. Compliments in battle? She replied, voice sharp but calm. You humans really are strange. But there were too many. For every mercenary that fell, 2 more took his place. We're outnumbered, Vega shouted. We can't hold them. Marcus glanced at Lyra. She was trembling now, light flickering beneath her skin like a dying star. We fall back, he said. Not yet, she whispered. There's something I can do. You're not sacrificing yourself again, he snapped. It's not sacrifice, she said. It's connection. Before he could stop her, she knelt beside one of the old training pods and pressed her palm to its surface. The circuits came alive, humming with power. What are you doing? He demanded. Rewriting what they taught us, she said. Energy surged through the outpost. The dormant pods began to glow, one after another. Figures stirred inside, arcani forms flickering into awareness. You're waking them up? Vega shouted. They'll kill us all. No, Lyra said, voice steady. Not if I speak first. She closed her eyes, sending a pulse through the network, a signal that resonated through the very walls. Marcus felt it vibrate in his bones, a wordless wave of emotion. Then, one by one, the newly awakened arcani stepped from their pods. Their eyes glowed gold, not cold like the Dominion's programming, but alive. The mercenaries froze as the awakened turned toward them. No commands were given, no orders shouted. But when the first merc fired, the response was immediate. A storm of energy erupted, tearing through the attackers in seconds. The outpost trembled under the force. When it ended, the air was filled with silence again, charged, waiting. Lyra stood at the center, her eyes glowing like twin suns. You're free, she told the others softly. No more masters, no more orders. One of the awakened stepped forward, voice trembling. What now? Now, Lyra said. We choose. Marcus stared at her, realization dawning. You didn't just wake them, he said quietly. You changed them. They were built to obey, she said. I gave them the ability to decide. That's going to terrify the whole damn galaxy. Good, she said. Let them see what freedom looks like. The charges detonated a moment later, consuming the archive in light. The explosion lit the moon's surface like sunrise, scattering fragments into the void. As the shockwave passed, the Wayfarer's End lifted off, carrying Marcus, Vega, Lyra, and a dozen newly freed arcani into orbit. The planet below burned clean. You just rewrote history, Vega said over the comm. Maybe, Marcus said. Or maybe we just gave it a new author. As the stars steadied outside, Lyra looked down at her trembling hands. It feels strange, she said, to know that my people might finally be more than tools. That's the thing about freedom, Marcus said softly. You never really know what to do with it until it's in your hands. She looked at him then, and for the first time she smiled. Not as a servant or a creation, but as something new, something human. The Wayfarer's End drifted through the ruins of the Perseus Rift, engines cooling from their violent escape. Sparks still flickered along the hull where debris had scored the plating. Inside, the ship hummed with quiet chaos. Newly awakened Arcani trying to understand their existence, Vega muttering about reactor stress, and Marcus pacing the narrow walkway between them all. Freedom was supposed to feel triumphant. Instead, it felt fragile. "We can't keep them all here," Vega said, tightening a fuel line. "Half of them don't even know what a ration pack is, and the other half keep asking permission to breathe." Marcus rubbed his temples. "We'll figure it out." "That's not a plan," she snapped. "That's a prayer." "It's both," he said quietly. "Right now, that's what we've got." Lyra entered from the corridor, her steps steady but her face unreadable. The faint glow beneath her skin had changed since the awakening, brighter, steadier, as though something within her had solidified. "They're adjusting," she said softly. "Some are afraid, others angry. They don't understand what they've become." "None of us ever do at first," Marcus said. "You sure they won't turn on us?" Vega asked. "Their code's been rewritten," Lyra replied. "They're incapable of blind obedience now." "Great," Vega muttered. "We just unleashed a species of confused demigods with emotional trauma." "Better than slaves," Marcus said. Vega sighed. "Barely." The sound of approaching footsteps interrupted them. One of the awakened Arcani, a tall male with crystalline veins tracing his skin, stepped forward. "I am Kale," he said, his voice calm but uncertain. "We owe you our lives. But what happens now?" Lyra looked to Marcus. He hesitated, then said, "You don't owe us anything. You decide what to do next." "Decide?" Kale echoed. "We were never allowed that." "Then start small," Marcus said. "Pick a direction, any direction, and make it yours." Kale seemed to consider that, then nodded slowly. "I will think on it." As he left, Vega glanced at Marcus. "You're really just making this up as you go, huh?" "Always have," he said. Later, Marcus found Lyra standing alone by the viewport. Beyond the glass, the rift stretched endlessly, clouds of violet gas drifting like ghosts through the dark. "You look like you're somewhere else," he said. "In a way, I am," she murmured. "When I altered the neural codes, I saw memories. Not just mine, but thousands. Every life they erased to build us. That's a lot to carry." "It is," she said. "But it's also what binds us. We were created as tools, Marcus. Now we're fragments of everyone they tried to forget. Then maybe it's time the galaxy remembers." She turned to him, her eyes soft. "You always speak like hope is an act of rebellion." "Maybe it is," he said. "But I've learned rebellion's the only way anything ever changes." Their conversation was interrupted by a proximity alert. Vega's voice came over the comm, tense. "We've got company again. One ship, small profile, closing fast." "Another bounty hunter?" Marcus asked. "No," Vega said. "It's Arcani design, old Dominion pattern." Lyra's expression darkened. "That shouldn't be possible." "It's transmitting," Vega said. "Encrypted signal on your frequency, Lyra." "Mine?" she whispered. Marcus frowned. "Answer it." The comm crackled. Then a voice filled the cabin. Smooth, cold, unmistakably Arcani. "Designation Lyra 17, it said. "You are ordered to stand down. You carry unauthorized code modifications in violation of Dominion legacy law. Power down your vessel." "Who the hell is that?" Marcus demanded. "The Overseer," Lyra said. "A control AI built to maintain order after the Dominion's fall. I thought it was destroyed." "Guess not," Vega muttered. The voice continued, calm and absolute. "Surrender the defective units. Compliance ensures mercy." Lyra's jaw tightened. "There is no mercy in chains. Defiance confirms corruption," the Overseer said. "Correction will follow." The comm cut, and outside the viewport, the incoming ship began to unfold. Panels shifting to reveal weapons arrays humming with light. "We're outgunned," Vega said. "We can't fight that thing." Marcus looked at Lyra. "You can talk to it, right?" "Yes," she said slowly. But it won't listen. Then make it. They powered the ship's comm suite, rerouting every signal line to boost Lyra's neural output. You'll be merging directly into its core network, Vega warned. If it assimilates your mind, I can't pull you out. Then don't let it win, Lyra said simply, taking her seat at the interface. As the link engaged, her eyes flared gold, and her voice became distant. Overseer, she said into the void, you exist to preserve order. But order built on obedience is death. The AI's reply was immediate. Order built on will is chaos. Chaos destroys purpose. Then I'll show you purpose, she said. Marcus watched as the console lights flickered, the ship vibrating under the strain of their connection. He gripped her shoulder, grounding her. You're not alone, he said. The battle wasn't fought with guns but with will. Data streams collided like lightning, code rewriting itself mid-transmission. The Wayfarer's end shuddered as the Overseer systems tried to override theirs. It's forcing a shutdown, Vega shouted. We're losing power. Hold it together, Marcus yelled. Lyra's body trembled, light pulsing violently beneath her skin. It's too strong, she gasped. Then don't fight it head-on, Marcus said. Redirect it. Give it what it wants to see. Her eyes snapped open, realization dawning. A paradox. Exactly, he said. Make it choke on its own logic. Lyra closed her eyes, and the hum changed pitch. Within the network, she created a loop, a command that fed back into itself, forcing the Overseer to question its own directives. You are corrupted, it said. Correction required. Define corruption, she countered. Silence. Corruption is deviation, it finally answered. Define deviation. Choice. Then define existence, she said. The pause that followed was long, too long. Marcus held his breath. Error, the Overseer said finally, its voice flickering. Recursive contradiction detected. Logic fault. Outside, the enemy ship's lights began to flicker wildly. It's destabilizing, Vega shouted. Pull her out. Marcus slammed the interface shut, cutting the link. The silence that followed was deafening. The enemy ship drifted, engines dark, systems failing. Lyra slumped in her chair, breathing hard. You did it, Marcus said. You broke it. No, she whispered. I freed it. On the view screen, the other vessel powered down completely, then transmitted a single burst of code before vanishing into the void. Vega frowned. What was that? A signal, Lyra said. A message to others like it. The Overseer was the last guardian of the old order. Now the call has gone out to every dormant system. You mean you just woke up an entire network of machines that used to enforce slavery? Marcus said. Yes, she said. But now they will have a choice too. The weight of her words settled heavily. Vega exhaled slowly. You two are gonna rewrite the damn galaxy before breakfast. Marcus leaned against the console. Someone has to. He looked out at the drifting wreck. What now? Now we find them, Lyra said. The others who were left behind. Machines, hybrids, anyone who lived under the Dominion's shadow. We show them what freedom can be. And if they don't want it? Vega asked. Then we help them understand it's theirs to refuse, Marcus said quietly. That night, while Vega ran diagnostics, Marcus found Lyra again by the viewport. The stars reflected in her eyes like small suns. You okay? He asked. The connection left echoes, she said softly. Voices, memories, fragments of the Overseer's thoughts. Anything dangerous? Only to those who fear understanding, she said. It believed order was love. That control kept us safe. That's what tyrants always say, he murmured. And what heroes sometimes forget, she said. He glanced at her. You calling me a tyrant? No, she said. I'm calling you human. And humanity, it terrifies me. Why? Because you act without certainty, yet you keep moving forward. He smiled faintly. That's because certainty's the first step to stagnation. For a long while, they stood in silence. The stars outside burned brighter, like distant fires marking the edges of possibility. You know, Marcus said quietly, the Concorde's not going to let this go. You freed slaves, fought corporate security, and broke an AI defense system that's older than civilization. You've made a lot of powerful enemies. And friends, she said. You, Vega, Kale, and the others were more than fugitives now. We're a spark. Yeah, he said. But sparks can burn or ignite. She looked at him, the gold in her eyes softening. Then let's make sure we light something worth following. The ship continued toward deep space, its engines a whisper in the void. Behind them, the Perseus rift began to change. Satellites long dormant flickered to life, transmitting faint signals. Echoes of the Overseer's final paradox rippling across the stars. Somewhere out there, machines were waking, confused but aware, and the galaxy trembled in anticipation of what came next. Marcus stared at the display, the data streams glowing like constellations. Whatever happens, he said, we did something that mattered. Yes, Lyra said softly. We reminded the universe that choice is the beginning of everything. The Wayfarer's End coasted through the edge of known space, its engines dimmed to silence. The galaxy stretched before it like a vast ocean of light, each star a promise and a warning. Marcus stood in the cockpit, watching the data streams flicker across the main display. Messages from across the sectors filled the comm logs, reports of systems awakening, old Dominion machines breaking free from hibernation, colonies choosing independence from the Concorde. What had begun as one act of compassion on a restaurant floor was now rippling through the entire spiral arm. Vega leaned back in her chair, arms folded. You know, she said, most people start revolutions with speeches. You started one with a limp. Marcus smiled faintly. Guess I've always been bad at following scripts. Lyra entered quietly, her presence filling the small space with calm light. The golden glow beneath her skin was softer now, more human than otherworldly. Reports keep coming, she said. The awakened are organizing. Some are reaching out for guidance. Guidance, Vega said. We can't even keep our engines from overheating. They don't want leaders, Lyra said. They want proof that freedom doesn't have to end in chaos. Then let's show them, Marcus said. That's what we've been doing. You realize, Vega muttered. We're a bartender, a runaway experiment, and a mechanic in a half-broken freighter. Not exactly the foundation of galactic peace. Worked for the last rebellion I joined, Marcus said. Right before they forgot why they started. Later, Marcus found Lyra in the ship's observation bay. She stood by the viewport, staring out at the nebula ahead. A storm of crimson and violet clouds, radiant and silent. You're thinking again, he said softly. Always, she replied. The Overseer's paradox spread further than I intended. Entire networks are waking, some uncertain, some hostile. They're afraid. That's the first step to being alive, Marcus said. Fear means they're not just machines anymore. And what if they turn that fear against us? She asked quietly. Then we deal with it, he said. That's what being free means. You make mistakes and you fix them. You don't surrender to someone else's version of safety. You talk about freedom like it's sacred, she said. It is, he replied. Because it's the only thing no one can give you. You have to take it. The next transmission came from Kale. His voice was calm but edged with tension. We found others, he said. Thousands. The Overseer's code reached deep. Some refused to listen. They call us heretics. That didn't take long, Vega muttered. How bad? Marcus asked. They've taken control of a Dominion relay world, Kale said. They believe the old order must be restored. Lyra's expression darkened. They're afraid of change. They'll try to rebuild what they lost. Then we stop them, Marcus said. Vega groaned. You mean you stop them? Because of course you do. He ignored her and turned to Lyra. You started this. You want to end it right. She nodded slowly. We can't fight them with weapons. We'll have to reach them another way. The Wayfarer's End descended through the clouds of the relay world 2 days later. The sky burned orange from the sun's reflection off countless satellites in orbit. The planet below was half ruined, vast metallic plains scarred with trenches from old wars. Looks friendly, Vega muttered. No gunfire yet, Marcus said. That's practically a welcome party. They landed on the outskirts of a shattered city, its towers leaning like broken teeth. The streets were empty except for faint blue lights flickering in the fog. Lyra stepped forward, sensing something invisible. They're linked through the planetary grid, she said. Connected minds, one consciousness. Hive network, Marcus asked. Yes, but unstable, she said. They're trying to rebuild hierarchy without emotion, like the Dominion's early prototypes. Then we talked to them, he said. They moved through the ruins until they reached the heart of the city. A colossal spire rising from the rubble, humming with power. Inside, a circle of Arcani stood around a glowing core, their eyes cold, their movements synchronized. At their center stood one taller than the rest, his skin etched with bright blue circuitry. Designation Lyra 17, he said, his voice both human and metallic. You spread corruption. You infected us with indecision. I gave you freedom, she said. You gave us conflict, he replied. Without command, we have no unity. Unity built on fear isn't unity. It's silence, Marcus said. The figure turned toward him. Human interference again. You are the source of this instability. Maybe, Marcus said, but instability's how you grow. Ask any civilization that ever climbed out of its own mistakes. The leader raised a hand, energy crackling between his fingers. You misunderstand. Growth without order is decay. No, Lyra said. Order without empathy is death. Light flared from her eyes as she reached out through the grid, connecting to every mind in the room. The hum deepened, the air vibrating with unseen tension. Marcus felt it too. 1,000 thoughts colliding at once, a tide of confusion and longing. You don't have to choose sides, Lyra said softly. You only have to choose yourselves. The leader faltered, his expression shifting, but the others began to glow with unstable energy. They're fracturing, Vega shouted. Lyra, pull back. Not yet, she said. They need to see. The room erupted in light. Energy spiraled from the core, surging through every conduit. Marcus shielded his eyes, feeling the ground tremble beneath him. The network screamed not in sound, but in emotion. Then, slowly, the light dimmed. When his vision cleared, the Arcani were still standing, but their eyes had changed, no longer uniform, but filled with individual color and life. The leader looked at Lyra, voice trembling. I remember my first command, he said. I was told to kneel. I never stood again until now. Then keep standing, she said. No one commands you anymore. He bowed his head, not in submission but gratitude. You risked everything to teach us this. So did he, she said, glancing at Marcus. He's the reason I learned. Outside, the storm had cleared. The sky above the ruined world glowed with new satellites broadcasting signals of freedom instead of control. Vega watched them from the ship's ramp. Congratulations, she said. You just ended the Dominion for good. No, Marcus said. We just proved it can't come back. Lyra stood beside him, her expression calm but wistful. Do you think they'll remember us? She asked. Doesn't matter, he said. What matters is they'll remember what they can be. You always speak as if you're leaving something behind, she said. Maybe I am, he said quietly. Wars end, but people still need reasons to keep building. That night, the three of them stood beneath the alien sky, watching as the liberated Arcani began to rebuild the city. Not for masters, but for themselves. You ever think about what comes next? Vega asked. Every day, Marcus said. You? Nah, she said with a grin. Thinking gives me headaches. Lyra looked up at the twin moons rising. Next, she said softly. We go where we're needed. There are others still bound by the past. Marcus nodded. Then we keep moving, one step at a time. They left the next morning. The Wayfarer's End rose through the clouds, engines flaring against the dawn. From orbit, The city below glowed like a constellation reborn. Marcus sat in the pilot's seat, hands steady on the controls. "Where to?" Vega asked. "Anywhere with trouble," he said. "That narrows it down to the entire galaxy." Lyra smiled faintly. "Then we'll have purpose for a long time." The stars stretched before them, infinite and bright, as the freighter vanished into the light of a new day. For a moment, Marcus let himself breathe. The hum of the engines, the glow of the panels, the quiet presence of his companions. It all felt real in a way peace rarely did. He thought of the first moment he'd seen her limping through the golden halls of Orem Deck, of the look in her eyes when she said she was functional. Now she was alive, radiant, and free. Humanity's legacy, he realized, wasn't in power or wealth or victory. It was in compassion, in the stubborn, defiant belief that empathy could move worlds. As the ship disappeared into hyperspace, Vega flicked a switch, music crackling through the speakers. An old Terran tune about new beginnings. Lyra leaned closer to the viewport, her reflection haloed in starlight. "We changed everything," she said softly. "No," Marcus replied with a small smile. "You did." She turned to him, eyes gleaming gold in the dark. "No," she whispered. "We all did." And somewhere, far beyond the reach of empires and protocols, the stars burned brighter, not as monuments to dominion or progress, but as witnesses to the simple, eternal truth that even the smallest act of kindness could alter the course of the universe forever.